Aragua State, Venezuela, September 20th, 2025. On a humid Saturday morning, Venezuelan President Nicolás Maduro took the stage in Aragua, standing before a crowd of farmers and agricultural workers. The event, broadcast nationwide by state television, was meant to showcase government support for the countryside. Instead, it turned into one of Maduro's most fiery speeches in recent months, a call not just for agricultural productivity, but for militant readiness. The president, wearing his signature tricolour jacket, spoke with forceful gestures, alternating between appeals for unity and warnings of foreign aggression. What began as a routine meeting with farmers quickly evolved into a stark message to Washington, wrapped in revolutionary symbolism and historical references. Maduro did not mince words. He framed the threat of US aggression as real and imminent, demanding that Venezuelan peasants prepare to defend the nation if attacked. Nicolás Maduro said, and I'm not exaggerating if I say millions of peasants, men and women, get ready to take up arms and defend the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela if it were attacked by the North American Empire. The statement drew loud applause from the assembled crowd, many of whom raised their fists in solidarity. The president's invocation of millions of peasants was deliberate. It placed Venezuela's rural working class at the center of a potential national defense strategy, echoing revolutionary movements of the past that relied on farmers as both producers and fighters. Maduro then shifted to a more ideological note, drawing inspiration from Latin America's revolutionary icons. With a firm voice, he repeated a phrase popularized by Argentine guerrilla leader Ernesto Che Guevara. Nicolás Maduro said, get ready, because if Venezuela is attacked, as Che Guevara said, there will be 1, 2, 3 Vietnams. The crowd responded with chants of Patria o muerte, homeland or death, a slogan inherited from Cuba's revolutionary tradition. The reference to Vietnam was no coincidence. It evoked the image of a small nation defeating a global superpower through determination, resistance, and asymmetric warfare. By repeating Guevara's words, Maduro was positioning Venezuela as part of that same historical struggle against imperial dominance. The president's rhetoric turned even more defiant when he promised that Venezuela would remain free, no matter how prolonged the conflict might be. Nicolás Maduro said, and we would keep this great rebellious homeland in prolonged resistance and free, always free. Our struggle is for peace, as the liberator Simón Bolívar said. By invoking Simón Bolívar, the 19th century independence hero revered as Venezuela's liberator, Maduro sought to link his government's policies directly to the nation's founding ideals. Peace, he insisted, was the ultimate goal, but it would only be safeguarded through readiness for war. The paradox was clear. To secure peace, Maduro argued, Venezuela must prepare for armed struggle. His choice of words, rebellious homeland, prolonged resistance, painted a picture of a nation perpetually under siege, but eternally unbroken. Beyond the soaring rhetoric, Maduro's decision to direct this message specifically at farmers carried symbolic weight. Agriculture has long been a touchstone of Venezuelan revolutionary identity, going back to the land struggles of the 20th century and the role of rural militias in protecting communities. By calling on peasants to be the first line of defense, Maduro reinforced the idea that Venezuela's countryside is not just the source of food, but also of patriotic resistance. His words placed farmers at the heart of a potential mobilization effort, suggesting that in the event of war, every citizen must be prepared to fight. The timing of the speech was significant. Tensions between Caracas and Washington had been steadily rising in recent weeks. The US had stepped up rhetoric over Venezuela's military exercises near disputed maritime borders and signaled tougher sanctions on the Maduro government. Meanwhile, Venezuelan officials accused Washington of plotting destabilization campaigns, pointing to covert operations and alleged funding of opposition groups. In this environment, Maduro's call for peasants to take up arms played both as a domestic rallying cry and as a message directed abroad. It was designed to project strength, warn adversaries, and remind Venezuelans of the revolutionary ethos that underpins the government's legitimacy. Throughout his address, Maduro weaved together threads of history, ideology, and nationalism. His references to Che Guevara and Simón Bolívar underscored a narrative in which Venezuela is not simply a small Latin American nation, but a key battleground in the global struggle against imperialism. The symbolism was amplified by the setting. Speaking in Aragua, a state with deep agricultural roots, Maduro surrounded himself with farmers who embody the image of Venezuela's self-reliant working class. The event was less about agricultural policy and more about staging a scene where the president could deliver a defiant message with a supportive audience. Inside Venezuela, Maduro's speech will resonate differently across the political spectrum. For his supporters, it reinforces the notion of a besieged nation standing firm against foreign aggression. It recalls the rhetoric of his predecessor, Hugo Chavez, who frequently positioned Venezuela as a revolutionary fortress resisting US hegemony. For critics, however, Maduro's words may appear reckless, even dangerous. Opposition figures have long accused him of using external threats as a way to distract from domestic crises, including inflation, food shortages, and the ongoing migration of millions of Venezuelans seeking better lives abroad. By calling on farmers to prepare for armed struggle, Maduro risks deepening fears of militarization and escalating tensions unnecessarily. Beyond Venezuela's borders, Maduro's statements are likely to be closely watched. Washington, already wary of Caracas's ties with Russia, China, and Iran, will interpret the call for peasants to take up arms as yet another sign of Venezuela's militant posture. Neighboring countries, many of which host large Venezuelan migrant populations, may also worry about the regional fallout if tensions with the US were to escalate into open conflict. At the same time, Maduro's words are meant to signal resolve to allies. By casting Venezuela as a nation willing to resist at all costs, he aligns himself with a broader bloc of countries that challenge US influence in Latin America and beyond. Maduro's strategy has long relied on defiance as both a survival tactic and a governing philosophy. His government has weathered years of economic sanctions, international isolation, and domestic unrest by framing itself as the victim of imperial aggression. Each new confrontation with Washington becomes an opportunity to rally support at home and seek solidarity abroad. This latest speech follows that same pattern. By raising the stakes, by suggesting that millions of farmers could become soldiers, Maduro is once again positioning himself as the defender of Venezuela's sovereignty against overwhelming odds. The Aragua event may have been framed as a meeting with farmers, but its implications reach far beyond agriculture. Maduro's words encapsulated a broader vision, a Venezuela constantly on guard, ready to transform every citizen into a fighter if necessary. The key statements left little room for ambiguity. And I'm not exaggerating if I say millions of peasants, men and women, get ready to take up arms and defend the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela if it were attacked by the North American Empire. Get ready, because if Venezuela is attacked, as Che Guevara said, there will be 1, 2, 3 Vietnams. And we would keep this great rebellious homeland in prolonged resistance and free, always free. Our struggle is for peace, as the liberator Simón Bolívar said. These words, delivered with conviction, underscore the duality of Maduro's message: peace as an aspiration, but war as a readiness. To his supporters, it is a call for unity and resilience. To his critics, it is yet another provocation in an already fragile political climate. As the sun set over Aragua, the echoes of his speech lingered. Farmers returned to their fields, but with the reminder that, at least in Maduro's vision, their role may one day extend beyond the harvest into the defense of the homeland itself.